Welcome to the Abolitionist Round Table with your hosts Del, Phil, and Janice. Come on in and take a seat. You're invited to join the round table. Call 734-822-1600 to get into the conversation. And now, your hosts, Del Marsh, Phil Stargell, and Janice Daniels.
Good morning, Wham Talk 1600 family of listeners, and I do consider us a family. Oftentimes conservatives, Del, you got to quit moving that microphone. Our family of listeners, mostly conservative, we're considered to be something of the evil stepchild. But I think that our listening audience is the prodigal son, and I would encourage anyone that is listening today to call in. We're going to have a good discussion this morning. Call in 734-822-1600. In the first half hour, we're going to be joined by a good friend of mine named Minesh Baxi. We're going to talk about Donald Trump. Second hour, we're going to talk to Senator Patrick Colbeck. He is one of the conservative good guys in the House of or in the Senate, actually, the State Senate. And I'm Janice Daniels, and I'm joined here this morning by my good friends, Del Marsh, Phil Stargell. You know, Phil Stargell, today is the 6th anniversary of our meeting each other.
Yeah.
September 12th, 2009, Phil and I and 4 other people rode into Washington to attend the 1,000-person Tea Party March on Washington.
Yeah.
And, you know, isn't it interesting, the Tea Party is the only group of people that is calling for less government.
Yeah. Well, you notice that they did a very, very good, effective job in defining how many of us were there. But that would, look, I was at the March on Washington by Martin Luther King, and I was also at that march.
Uh-huh.
And it was no doubt in my mind that there was at least 2 times as many people at that 2009 march as it was in the 1964 march with Martin Luther King. Mm-hmm. And yet and still, did you notice how much effort they made to minimize the attendance?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
I went back to the hotel, and even Bill O'Reilly on Fox News said, well, there's 80,000 people, and I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Oh.
I know. Del, were you there? I don't know if you were.
No, I wasn't there, but Phil and I had a chance to meet a little bit before that when we sat down with Dr. Yule and started this long-term relationship of trying to rebuild our culture through our faith.
You know, that's so true. Del, I'm not sure where I met you or where we first met. I'm sure it was at one rally or another.
It was out there.
But I'm proud to call you my friend.
Absolutely.
And you notice that bond that we made with that group that traveled down there, we are still a brotherhood. I mean,
absolutely.
you know.
And you know, that's what I've found about all of the Tea Party groups that I have met, or I have gone to their meetings or joined them in rallies, etc. There is such a bond. Yeah. There's such a camaraderie among us, and it's as if we found out that someone other than me or you feels this way about things, because the mass media will not give our conservative message any airtime. So we have to build our own media, and that's an important part about business strategy, I think. I also want to take a moment today to honor the innocent men and women whose lives were taken on September 11th, 2001. We will never forget.
Yes.
You know, Jesus once said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and give to God that which is God. Our lives, our liberties, our worship, and our obedience belong to God. I think that participating responsibly in a civil society ought to be enough to keep a man free.
And we wouldn't need so many laws if we allow God's law to supersede man's laws. But man want to, and it's unfortunately we have a society, a culture today want to minimize that word, and they want to just keep creating laws today, and they want to create what they call a Babylonian society. That's a society that's separate from you thinking that you can have a society separate from morality, and morality come from God.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And this is why we're free falling.
That's true. Well, I think that a really important part of responsible citizenship is taking a cogent, well thought out look at the decisions we make on who we elect into higher office. And that's why we've interviewed Wendy Day, the Michigan director for Ted Cruz for President campaign, and we interviewed Tom McMillan, who represented the Rand Paul for President campaign. So the past few weeks I've been trying to find out who might be running the Michigan campaign for Donald Trump. And you know what? I can't find anybody. But then again, Donald Trump doesn't have a typical campaign. So instead, I've decided to invite my erudite friend, Mr. Minesh Baxi, in to talk to us this morning a little bit about business strategy. And Minesh brings a fresh perspective to just about any conversation. Good morning, Minesh.
Good morning, Janice, and your team. You folks are obviously doing a great job. And let me extend to you the same level of relationship, because I was in the same place September 12th, 2009.
Interesting. So, you were there,
yeah,
Minesh.
I was in Washington, D.C. as well, and marching with fellow brothers and sisters to let people know that we are strongly for smaller government.
Well, that's exactly right. And I want to welcome you to the WHAM Radio listening audience again, Minesh. You know, we're heard every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. till 8 a.m. The name of our program is Art of Michigan, and we draw pictures on Art of Michigan. That's kind of a play on words. Minesh, we want to draw a picture of what it looks like to be a successful leader. You've written a book called Stop Hiring Losers. Now, I think that's kind of an un-PC title to a book, but it's a look at the principles of management, and I wanted you to get into that concept of how we stop hiring losers, because that seems to be our problem in picking presidents.
Yeah, stop electing losers. Yeah. And that's definitely the second part of the title, I guess. Now, my book is obviously designed to be, as you can imagine, controversial. But that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing, because controversy sells. We must remember that when there is a controversy, people gravitate to find out what's wrong, what's going on, why is it so different. And it becomes, obviously, a media magnet. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the title, Stop Hiring Losers. Now, my book is more about business people and their hiring practices, because what ends up happening is if you have a team, okay, and you want to build a winning team, you cannot hire the wrong people on that team. It just doesn't work. The second thing is you cannot hire people and they put them in the wrong position as well. So the way I like to actually talk about that is if you are hiring somebody, you know that there are certain things they will need to do. So, for example, I'm 5'4", I'm not very fast, I'm now over 50. So regardless of how much empathy somebody might have, NBA is not a career for me. Would you agree with me?
That's a cogent observation, Minesh.
Yes. And I'm very honest about looking in the mirror there. So I know that's not going to be, so hiring me just because I should be hired, whether you call it affirmative action, and then even then in that situation, I would not be the person to bring on the team. So when we are hiring somebody, and this is the part going back to the elections part of it, and one side remark about Mr. Tom Izzo, who favors affirmative action, he somehow doesn't use affirmative action when he builds a team. Okay, he doesn't have any Indians representing the team. That's a separate part about how people want to talk about stuff but never really apply when it comes to their own situation.
Yeah.
So
you know,
right?
I'm looking at Donald Trump as this wildly successful businessman, and so I'm thinking that he must have a good understanding of how to hire winners. He must have a group of very important, very intelligent, very knowledgeable people around him, or he would not be so successful. Nobody does it all by themselves. And in fact, that's one of the more compelling reasons why I think Donald Trump deserves a serious look as a candidate for president.
Well, yeah, Janice, you have hit the nail on the head, because there are a lot of people in the conservative/Republican talk show host circuit who are totally frustrated, unable to understand what is it that is attracting even Tea Party people to a guy whose principles have been questionable in the past.
Right.
And the answer is very simple, what you just said. his track record of winning is what they're looking for. Okay? When they are looking at him, they don't look at his positions as much as they look at the person who can get things done.
That's right. And you know
what? In this world that I live in, you live in, you cannot have excuses because there are only two types of people who have results and people who have excuses. That's it.
Very well said. Very well said. You know what? We found a clip of Donald Trump from 25 years ago. Derek, can you play that clip for us?
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
So it took Donald Trump 25 years to get to a point where it got so bad that he finally decided to really make a serious effort to run for president. Isn't that interesting, Minesh?
That is amazing. I've never heard that clip, and congratulations to you for finding that clip. Because
that's
if you
my
listen
job.
to that clip and you see what he's doing today, it's pretty consistent, isn't it?
That's exactly right. I like that consistency.